Hello and welcome. We're glad you could join us today for the complimentary ICMI webinar, Your CRM Isn't a Silver Bullet, Customer Engagement Strategies That Actually Work. I'm Erica Maroy, Community Strategist here at ICMI, and I'll be your host for today. We'd first like to thank Bold360 for sponsoring today's webinar. And before we go any further, I have just a few quick announcements and housekeeping items to cover. One, I do want to let you know that we are recording today's webinar, and that recording will be available shortly after the live event ends. You can access the recording at the same link that you used for today's live presentation. And then second, we are planning to save some time at the end for audience Q&A, and we'd love to take your questions, so don't be shy. If you think of questions throughout the presentation, feel free to submit them at any time directly through the Q&A function that you'll see here in your console. And before we go any further, I do want to encourage you to check out the links and resources that we provided for you here below the console. These give you access to more information about our sponsor, Bold360, as well as some additional resources, including speaker bios and the ability to download a version of today's slides. And speaking of those speaker bios, it's my pleasure to now introduce today's presenters. I am joined today by Julie Moore and Marie Russo. And Julie is an author and international speaker. She is a dynamic, engaging change agent who brings integrity and passion to everything she does. Through her books, articles, speaking, consulting, and teaching, her purpose is to change the world through thought-provoking dialogue and interaction. And Marie is Director of Product Marketing for Bold360, which is LogMeIn's intelligent customer engagement solution. Marie has more than 15 years of marketing experience, understanding contact center needs across a variety of industries, including high tech, telecommunications, and financial services. And Julie and Marie have prepared an amazing presentation for you today. So before I turn it over to them, I do have one final housekeeping item to cover. We encourage you to be social throughout our presentation today. So please use the hashtags and handles that you see here on your screen to interact with other webinar attendees, speakers, as well as to share what you're learning and to keep that interaction going. So with that, once again, I do thank you for joining us today and welcome you to this presentation. And without further ado, I will now turn it over to Julie to kick us off.
Thank you very much. Customer relationship management, while very important for managing data, interactions, products, outcomes, it is not serving the needs of our customers. It is a process that better enables the organization to manage the customer, but what our customers really want is for us to provide quality services when they want them, through the channel that they prefer, and with the features that they desire. And in this battle, the customer is winning. Customers are voting with how they spend their money, who they give their money to, and what partner that listens to what they actually need. So customer engagement is about delivering an exceptional experience. That's a very particular word, right? An exceptional experience that not just provides what the customer expects, but can connect with the customer's emotions and elicit a positive emotion about the service and, more importantly, about themselves. Customers want services that are innovative, not bloated with product features that the service provider thinks is important, but only the features that the customers actually need. They want their experiences to be memorable and intentional for good reasons, right? We want to be able to remember the services that a provider provides us for good reasons. This requires the service provider to step outside of the service provider's walls and to see things from the customer's perspective. We need to design services that are intentional from the beginning to the end of the delivery of that service. We have to reduce the friction that our customers are experiencing and create an end-to-end experience that delights the customer. To meet the growing expectations of our customers, the service provider has begun to diversify the channels that are available to the customer. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of you have engaged in new strategies in order to introduce new channels to your customers. So we've enabled our customer to choose the channel they desire from the device that they prefer. And this is a really good thing. However, we haven't always engaged in delivering an experience. We gave our customers options, yes, but to the customers, these appear to be disconnected interactions. Customer engagement is not about just adding new features and new tools. It's about truly engaging our customers on their terms. When these disjointed experiences break down, our customers can be very vocal about the experience, and we've seen this today in light of social media. They're expressing their views and are crying for us to drive the right type of change in our products and services. So this should be telling the service provider, listen, understand your customers' expectations before you drive change to the organization. When customers don't like an experience, they don't always tell us. The service provider usually only hears about 2% of the issues that go wrong because, in general, we have over-surveyed our customers and they're not interested in giving us feedback anymore. And the economics of this are clear. If you look at the revenue that is driven from your customer base and look at the customers that are having poor experiences, you can see the true economics of their deflection. It translates into significant revenue very quickly. It's much harder to gain a new customer, to go out there and to provide all, the visibility to your product set and compete in the marketplace than it is to keep the ones that you already have. So do you know how many of your customers are really unhappy with your current experience? Do you know how many are ready to leave? And what are you doing today to engage with those customers to better understand how your organization needs to continue to change to create the right experience for your customer? If you're just measuring customer satisfaction, then likely there are issues that you do not know about and change that you're not aware of that needs to happen in order to innovate your products and services to meet your customers' needs. So customer engagement is about understanding your customer and at a depth that it's more than just knowing if they're happy. You need to know what challenges your customers are facing in their roles and in their business processes. You need to know what problems they're facing, and you need to innovate and drive product development that helps the customer solve those problems. This doesn't come from customer relationship management. It doesn't come from customer satisfaction surveys. It comes from truly engaging with your customers and developing a strategy that serves their needs. Now think about how many companies today have not listened to their customers and do not exist today because they failed to change. I mean, Blockbuster, Borders. Think about how many companies or industries are being challenged today because of the disruption in our market space. These companies may not exist in the future if they cannot change and meet the changing demands of our customers. So if you don't think that this can happen to you, you need a customer engagement and strategy that focuses on your customers, because it can happen to anyone. But our customers are smarter today, not only about technology, but they're also smarter about service providers. And put yourself in a customer's position. You use Gmail, you use Google, you use Apple. you have experiences with iconic companies that give you a standard, a way to measure the success of other service providers that you're working with. So customers, too, have those relationships, right? They've personalized their services in their homes, in their cars, and in communities, and they're getting services today from providers that are free, fast, and available immediately. So as that disruption unfurls, customers are realizing how important it is that service providers secure the data that they provide. They want the preferred channel, personalized services when they need them, and at an acceptable cost for the value that's provided. And when they buy the services, and I don't know that customers expect that things don't ever fail. I mean, things will go down from time to time and service does get disrupted, but when that does happen, the quality of the support organization that they interact with is part of that experience and can either exceed expectations or let them down. So this requires a systems approach to design an experience that meets all the demands, right? We want to think about services as more than just technology enhancements. We need a systems approach to customer experience that includes systems and processes. It needs to evaluate touch points and interfaces between those touch points. We need to drive creativity, but also innovation. And, you know, we want interactions with our customers that reduce the friction, not create more friction for the customers. And you may be wondering, how in the world can we possibly do all of that? Well, it requires a customer engagement strategy that carefully looks at that entire experience, careful planning and strategy. We need a vision that's aligned with putting the customer first. That starts with organizational change. We need to engage the customer in new and innovative ways and design services that distinguish themselves from the competition. This will create customers that are not only loyal, but who are advocates of us as a service provider and will go out and tell others just how exceptional their experiences really are. So where do you begin? You know, they always tell you to look inside first before you start looking for, problems on the outside, and that's true for service providers. We need to understand the current experience, what's happening to our customers today, and what does that end-to-end service really look like from our customer's perspective. So first begin by looking at all your existing touch points that you have with your customers. This includes websites, email, telephony systems, custom apps, chat, and any other use of artificial intelligence or automation that you may be using. We want to evaluate those touch points and get a good understanding of what you're actually delivering today through those existing channels and technologies. And put yourself in the position of the customer when you're looking at those touch points. Does this all appear to be from the same company? Does it appear to be separate and discrete data points and interactions? Or are they all branded to have consistency? A great example is if your customer puts data in through one touch point, is it immediately available through another? We need to dig in to understand each interaction and what you're truly delivering. Don't be afraid to eliminate touch points that are providing no value to your customers. Chances are your customers aren't using them anyway. Now look at each of those individual touch points from the perspective of the end-to-end experience from the customer's perspective. Where are the friction points that create unwanted delays or non-value-added interactions? And where do things go wrong? And if you can't deliver without exception, Are there changes that you can create that will allow you to better manage the end-to-end experience when those things do go wrong? Which brings me to the next layer of this holistic design approach, the processes. The processes within a service organization that connect the teams and functional groups to enable the successful handoffs and interactions need to be invisible to the customer. Often, friction comes from the service provider not working across those functional groups from the customer's perspective. The customer quickly identifies where things break down and will take the path of least resistance, and you can see this in many different symptoms, right? Instead of calling support, they're calling sales. Instead of calling the service desk, they're going directly to the technician. They're taking the path of least resistance. Remember, they want it free, fast, and now. And if your company cannot deliver on those promises, they will defect and go somewhere else. So when you look at your existing customer experience, you have to be highly critical of the way that you're doing things today. Challenge established practices. Don't keep doing it the same way because it's the way you've always done things. Create an experience that serves the customer, reduces friction, and delights your customers. Make it easy to do business with them. Provide quality services and support. Please be prepared to disrupt the way that your organization works today in order to keep your customers and drive the revenues and profits that your organization needs. The next thing you have to do is truly understand what your customers really want. This begins by better understanding our customers. We need to develop insight into the customer and understand what they really need, not what we think they need. Service providers have begun using data to do this. We're phenomenally well versed at capturing data on systems and then analyzing that data in order to understand how to change and how to better serve our customers. But if your data is flawed because your interaction points are flawed or your systems are flawed, then you're making decisions on how to innovate that may not translate into results that you need. You can't just rely on the data. You need to understand who your customers are, what they do every day, and how your service can make what they do easier. You need to develop new and innovative service models. Just because we've always done it this way for the past 20 years doesn't make it right. Our customers will be the first ones that will give us insight into what isn't working for them and where we need to innovate. Be prepared to bend the rules or throw them out completely. We also don't necessarily need dramatic change that creates chaos. Small refinements, along with continuous improvement, a more agile approach, can really make a difference to the customer in meaningful ways. And the insight that we develop by better understanding our customers will help us to identify the right opportunities to not only provide what they're expecting, but also what they're not expecting, things that will help to delight them in working with your organization. We want to identify the right opportunities to distinguish our services from our competition and also to identify gaps in what we're delivering and drive the leaps of innovation that we need. And remember, the business world lives in the world of logic, and the techniques that we engage in are looking for data, evaluating the market, conducting surveys, and developing strategy. Our customers' world, though, embraces the emotional. It's what is their subconscious desires, their emotional aspirations, the things that are, the ideas that are transforming their lives. When products and services engage customers in their emotional experience, they have a much greater chance of winning the hearts and minds and drive customer loyalty that we're looking for. So design thinking needs to bring these two worlds together so that we're not only, running our business, but we're engaging our customers on their terms. all of this comes together when the service provider co-creates the experience with the customers, right? Our customers need to be part of designing the right experience that meets their needs and works to deliver what they want. This includes not just product features and functionality, but quality touch points. It also means that, what it takes to support and deliver those services even when things don't go as expected. So that strategy across, what we looked at, the technology, the tools, the processes, and the organizational change. We have to do all of these things, delivering what is expected and at the same time securing their data and not putting their experience at risk. So after you evaluate what you're doing today, step one, then you identify what your customers really need. The next step is to design a service that delights and exceeds the customer's expectation. So how would you do that? The first thing that you want to do, you've looked at those existing touch points. Now you need to integrate those touch points, right? They shouldn't be isolated experiences with your product and service. You want to create loyalty by design. Every transaction across all channels needs to have a consistent, purposeful, and meaningful interaction with your customer. You need to design processes that support the delivery end-to-end across those touch points. And I highly recommend the use of journey maps, which we're going to look at next, or moment maps, as a way of not only creating visibility into what's being done today, but also to help the organization identify how can we design an integrated approach, but also something that is, intentionally meant to be an exceptional experience for our customers. So focus on the experiential features and aesthetics of the service or product that you're providing. All too often, we develop products and services that make sense to us, and I've seen this over and over again in customers' environments. We develop something that's just amazing and makes sense to the service provider, but our customers are scratching their heads and they're saying, why did you create this in the first place? So the user experience is incredibly important. Your brand, your message must be consistent from the first interaction to the last one with your customers across the virtual world as well as the physical world. This means you need consistent messaging and branding and imagery and collaterals, something that you may print, ship, send to your customer, as well as online in the virtual environment. We want to design an experience, a multi-channel experience that to the customer is seamless. They don't even know when they transition from one touch point to the next. In today's economy, driven by the advancements of technology, our customers' expectations and the industries are changing very quickly. This means that your organization as a service provider has to be engaged in continuous improvement. While you may understand what your customers need today to improve their lives and work, what they do for a living, do you truly understand what they're going to need in the future? Customer engagement is not a one-time and done event. It has to be embedded into the organizational culture where, we are continuously seeking to drive the required change to innovate in our market. We need to develop, major innovations as well as the small, tiny ones that make a difference. And we need solid marketing strategies that engage the customers and pull them into the brand, right? That's kind of an intentional way of really engaging with the customer. We also need to provide services, new services, but also look at the way that our existing services are provided and can we deliver them in new ways that are enticing to the customers. But continuous improvement is not just, something that we aspire to do, this has to be embraced by the entire organization, from the agents all the way up to the executives. The more agile the organization becomes in driving the changes that your customers need, the more likely your organization is to, able to survive this disruption economy. So I wanted to give you a few takeaways, techniques that will help you focus on the details of your customer engagement, what you're doing today, but also to help you to develop new strategies for serving your customers. The first technique is known as a moment map. This is where you're looking at the end-to-end experience, all the different interaction points that you have with your customers, and you're identifying what you typically do, and you're identifying what your customers expect during those touch points. Our goal is to evaluate each of the touch points and identify any potential threats to achieving the outcome so that we can potentially avoid those, as well as opportunities to exceed expectations both at the physical and emotional levels with our customers. And this is a great tool for identifying ways to innovate, but also to innovate in a way that connects with the emotional needs of our customers. Remember, customers want it free, fast, now, but they also want personalized experiences. So let's take a look at this moment map for a customer, wants to make a reservation at a restaurant. Let's look at what we could do here. Notice that I've mapped out all of the touch points with the customer and their expectation during those interactions, but then brainstormed on how we can customize the way we deliver those services and create surprise and anticipation on behalf of the customer. For example, if you remember the customer's name, you send them directions prior to them, coming for their reservation. Maybe you even reserve a parking spot for them. And probably the greatest way to connect with them is if you know who they are when they come into the restaurant. It makes them feel like family. And if you're a customer, getting that level of service exceeds what you expect when you go dining at a restaurant. But it also delights the customer and makes them feel as if they were family. The second technique is a journey map, and here we also look at what's going on, across those different touch points, but we look at the end-to-end experience with the goal of eliminating potential break points or bottlenecks, and also identifying techniques in which our staff, our people, can be empowered to make a difference when that end-to-end experience is failing to meet our customers' expectations. Now, this is an example of a software development company that provides their software via the web for free download. Their model is to get revenues from support, professional services, and add-on features and functionality. Now, here they get it right? They got the free part right, and they got the now part correct. But the support organization was letting the customer down, and it was leading to customer defections. And when you see an experience such as this across all the touch points, you can easily identify areas that need to be fixed, but also how you can innovate to drive real change for the customer. Now, this is an example of the improved customer experience end-to-end where the support organization did something that was not expected, and by the way, it actually cost a lot of money to do, but what it did was change the poor experience that was happening for the customer into a positive one that led to the retention of that customer. So by comparing the one where we failed to the one where we've actually been able to create a difference, we can create real change in the minds of our customers, meeting their needs. Now, we can also use this customer experience map to evaluate internal processes and identify ways in which we can innovate and deliver services with more innovative support models. And this is an example of an incident management process. It helps to restore service if there's a disruption. It's well-defined and followed by the support organization, but it may not be delivering what the customer is expecting. It's an efficient process to manage the outage, But, you know, when you combine this with an actual journey map, as I've shown here, you can not only identify the opportunities to innovate, you can identify how to positively impact or influence that customer's emotional experience. And we do this by empowering the staff to make a real difference in the minds of the customers, right? You know, so you're here, you're not happy. What can I do at this moment to change this experience into something that's going to create a positive perception on the part of the customer? For service providers to truly engage customers in meaningful ways, we need to move away from simply managing the customer relationship and truly develop customer engagement strategies that actually work for our customers. We need, we need to create innovative but memorable and intentional experiences that focus on putting the customer at the center of that experience. We need to know what they want, how they want it, and to develop products and services and processes and delivery models that really make a difference in their lives. And with that, I would like to go ahead and transition over to the next speaker.
Thanks, Julie. That was some great content. And it reminded me, you talked about how companies may not exist in the future if they're not innovating, and reminded me of a study Deloitte did that showed that 40% of the Fortune 500 will no longer exist in 10 years due to a lack of innovation. So I think, you know, putting that out is pretty astute. It shows that, you know, in order for businesses to survive in today's digital age, they've really got to innovate and adapt to the demands of a digital marketplace and today's consumers. So great, thanks for that. Again, folks, my name's Marie Russo. I'm the Product Marketing Director at LogMeIn for our Bold 360 product, which is our digital engagement platform. It brings intelligent customer engagement through a seamless omni-channel experience and automation of routine tasks for a more richer, personalized interactions. And what resonated with me from Julie's presentation, and I hope with you, was the need to understand the full customer journey across different channels and how that can be really powerful in creating an emotional connection with customers to build that loyalty, advocacy, and grow share of wallet. Let's face it, with the advent of the internet, SaaS applications, and cloud storage, customer information has become more detailed and less centralized, housed in multiple systems or applications. Information about a single customer might be distributed across your CRM system, ticketing, or ERP applications. And when you add mobile technologies and social channels to the mix, that customer data becomes even more fragmented. All of which makes it really hard to get a complete picture of your customer, to understand their customer journey, and be there for them in their time of need. CRM and ticketing systems, they're not up to the task to construct a complete picture of your customer. We're now entering an era where it's not just about having static information about your customers and what they've purchased from you. Why? Well, that's because traditional customer service systems and CRMs aren't up to the task of tackling today's decentralized, fragmented customer data. They can't collect it, let alone curate it and harvest insights from it to help you understand who your customers are and what they're saying, doing, and feeling. As a result, there's a massive disconnect between what customers want and what companies are delivering. And as a result, the distance between the customer and the company is wider than ever before. So if you don't know already, you might be asking why CRM and ticketing systems aren't entirely capable of providing the customer data necessary to deliver great customer experiences. And to understand this, we need to look at three seismic forces shaping the customer engagement landscape. Number one is shifting demographics. Today's customers, in particular those millennials we keep hearing about, they want new endpoints and channels for engaging with your products and services. Within the next 2 years, we'll see voice interactions go down about 17%, while text-based interactions like chat and social will go up 10% for chat and about 5% for social media. Companies are now racing to stay a step ahead of their consumers' new channel demands and preferences. And as you all know, the pace of change shows no signs of slowing down. Number 2 is personalized self-service. Artificial intelligence is now getting good enough to drive great personalized self-service experiences. In fact, 57% of companies believe that improving customer service and support is the biggest growth benefit of artificial intelligence. Think about it. Customer service is heavily text-based and pretty repetitive, with easy discernible patterns. So it's a perfect fit for AI and machine learning. It's also an area where companies are eager to save money on staffing. And today's impatient consumers are increasingly looking for self-service options, preferring to help themselves rather than wait on hold. So it's kind of a win-win for business and consumers. As well, 86% of planned AI projects are being led by sales and marketing or support. And 55% of organizations will invest in AI in the next 12 months. Third seismic shift is the changing nature of customer interactions. Old school systems in your sales, marketing, and support were designed to capture very specific episodic events. A customer makes a purchase or sends in a warranty card, and you capture it in your CRM. Somebody calls in with a tech support issue, and you capture it in your ticketing application. But that's not the way the customer interactions happen anymore. Customer interactions have gone from episodic to continuous. And consumers want proactive, not reactive engagement. They want companies to anticipate their needs and reach out to them with the right information, with true context of the situation, where and when they really need it. Those are the moments to make a difference. And that also means moving beyond phone-based interactions, but not eliminating the phone. That's not going away. And expanding the channels used across the customer journey. You can expect the pace and nature of those engagements to change even in the coming years. The customer engagement paradigm has become completely turned on its head. It used to be a system-centric one. Your systems designed to solve your business problems. Because CRMs are unable to give the in-depth customer insights that businesses need, they're being augmented by a new type of solution, one that is end-user centric and more conducive to the changing expectations of today's customers. Digital engagement systems are designed to do what CRMs can't. Automatically capture each and every customer interaction in real time to provide your agents with the information they need to deliver a highly personalized customer experience. That's where Bold 360 comes in. It was designed to push legacy CRM into the future by taking that static information and adding in real-time customer interactions to provide a 360-degree view of each customer. By arming your agents with this real-time contextual information all in one place, agents are not only more efficient, just think, no more toggling between 12 to 15 screens and systems to solve one customer problem, but the interactions are also more effective and delightful for the customers. And through a combination of popular digital engagement channels like chat and text messaging, social and media and mobile messaging, with added support tools like co-browsing and remote support, and this unified interface, Bolt's taking on the traditional customer service market by bridging the gap between the customer and vital business data, helping your companies deliver immediate and personalized experiences for today's customer. To turn your customer interactions into a strategic advantage and to help you maximize customer lifetime value and deliver operational efficiencies. And with that, I'd like to turn it back to our moderator, Erica.
Thank you, Marie, and thank you, Julie. Such awesome information today. So really appreciate both of your time. Just a couple of quick reminders for our audience members before we dive into that Q&A. You can feel free to submit your questions throughout this conversation through the Q&A function that you do see here in your console. If by chance you have a question that we are not able to get to live here and now, we'll be sure to follow up with you and take care of answering any questions left in the queue offline. And of course, if you think of questions after we close today, feel free to reach out to us either on social media or via email, and we'll be happy to route those questions to the appropriate person. Also, don't forget that we did record today's presentation. You'll be able to access that link shortly after we wrap up today, but you can also actually download today's slides directly through the console. So, all that being said, I want to go ahead and dive right into the questions. And Marie and Julie, I would love to hear both of your thoughts on this one. This is a common question that we're hearing more and more from ICMI community members, and it's a great question. So, where do you see the most useful application of artificial intelligence within the customer experience? Marie, I'd love for you to take that one first, if you don't mind.
Sure. So thinking about your customer support organization, the majority of requests for service that come in are usually for routine tasks like a password reset or what's your return policy. So these are really routine tasks that can easily be automated and taken out of the agent's work queue. In addition, it allows your agents to focus on more complex interactions so that your agents are more satisfied in what they're doing, right? So no one wants to sit on the phone and answer the same password reset or why is my computer frozen kind of questions. So being able to allow customers to get those answers fast and easy because they're highly repeatable and fairly common, and move those out of the agent's queue will have amazing impact on both customer satisfaction and your operating costs.
Awesome. Julie, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, we can think of artificial intelligence as an addition to our agents, doing just what Marie said, being able to provide answers to issues that we commonly see, and then we have the knowledge that's available. And often this is used to kind of complement the staff that we actually have. When they're really busy, we can use the artificial intelligence as a way to help manage that demand. But if I look at artificial intelligence and where it's going, one of the most predominant things that we're seeing today is the use of a telephone that either through Siri or a device that you may have in your room, like Alexa, what time is it? These things are engaging customers in their daily lives, and so artificial intelligence, I think, is being embraced today within service organizations as complementary. But I think the long-term strategy has to be looking at ways in which we can interact with those customers and use that intelligence not only to help to resolve commonly occurring issues, but to help us better understand the customer experience and things that they need. From a pure knowledge management perspective, the more I know about my customers, and I know, right, not just data that's gathered, but being able to formulate real strategy and understanding of my customer, the more that I'm going to be able to engage them and create an experience that is going to be beneficial to them. So when I look at true artificial intelligence, that has become possible because a lot of these innovators in our industry did one thing first. They gathered a tremendous amount of data about their customers. I mean, look at Google, right? Not only are we going out and looking at every server and you know, indexing the content that's out there and developing incredibly smart search engines that only bring our customers to the, you know, to that site and give more information, but we've given them free email. And we have, you know, GPS devices on their phones that are tracking where they are. There's no doubt that the reason why they're able to innovate and be able to launch platforms that are driving artificial intelligence because of the data that they've been able to collect and to use to support intelligent, you know, decisions and to drive that artificial intelligence. So we have to get better at capturing the data and looking forward past just using artificial intelligence as a way to complement what we're doing today.
I think that's a great point,
it's something
Julie,
to start thinking about now.
Yeah, and I would add to that, I think that's a great point. Your artificial intelligence, the technology has become far more sophisticated, but it is only as good as the data that it's leveraging. So, you know, people often ask, how do I get started? Where do I get started? What does your knowledge management look like? What do you have today that that artificial intelligence will be leveraging to provide, you know, the right response? What kind of data have you captured and curated over time? So I think that's a great insight.
Absolutely. And I know that many members of our community are right now in the midst of making their strategic plans for 2018. So now is a great time to take inventory. So appreciate the insight from both of you on that one. Julie, question for you. You talked about customer journey mapping, but you also talked about moment mapping. And can you just quickly review what the difference is between the two? Because I think sometimes people get confused between the two.
I look at the customer experience map as more of an analytical tool of what we're doing today, and the moment map as more of looking at you know, exceeding and creating that emotional connection. The two techniques are very similar, don't get me wrong. But the way that I use them, I often use the customer experience map to look at what's happening today and to draw visibility for, you know, an organization that I'm engaged in to when it goes wrong, how does it go wrong and how bad does it get? And it's interesting because I had a customer once say to me, well, you can't just take one isolated experience and expect that we're going to change our entire organization to fix that one problem. And I said, that's not the point of the customer experience map. It's to see how we respond in those events and where the breakage points are when things go really wrong. And if you don't create that visibility, then you're not truly understanding, you know, where those friction points are or the breakages are from a process and tool perspective, not just, you know, just the technology. So the customer experience map is great. You can also use the same technique for looking at those points and saying, okay, here's what we can do and empowered to make a difference when these things do happen. So that's great. The moment map, though, to me is more of that strategy document where we're thinking about, okay, you know, this is what our customers expect from us, and yeah, here's what could go wrong. But what can we do to throw away the preconceived ideas of how we traditionally interact with our customer at this point to create an experience where our customer just goes, wow, no one's ever done that before, right? So being able to look at that and brainstorm and say, okay, how can we make a difference, but how can we connect emotionally to our customers? You are creating an intentional interaction, a moment with your customer that pulls them into your brand. I mean, I look at, let me use Starbucks as an experience. So you can map out the Starbucks customer experience, and everything is pretty intentional, right? The music, the smell, you know, the baristas are empowered with different techniques that they can do when the lines are long in order to reduce that friction. But if you look at the moment map and think about how do they actually embrace customers in a way that is meaningful, you know, I mean, the app being able to pay, they've reduced these steps in the process. They've done things that other organizations just have not simply done. And they've innovated in ways that have made it meaningful to the customer, not just made them feel like family. I mean, I go in, they know what coffee I drink, and they can have it ready before I even get up to pay for it because they see me in line. So, and the whole ability to order and then go pick it up is so frictionless. It's amazing. So they're innovating in ways, they're creating moments with their customers that are meaningful, that continue to bring their customers back in. They're just not making sure that the process when you get into the store is great. They're innovating in ways that other vendors are just not. So that's kind of, these two go hand in hand, but really the one is about identifying what we're doing today and how to make a difference, and the other one is really truly driving some of this innovation and interaction with our customers in ways that we haven't seen before.
I love that example. Thanks for breaking it down for us, Julie. So Marie, we've talked quite a bit about strategies for improving customer engagement today, but can you share a bit more about how Bold 360 also improves the experience for our service agents?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for asking. Well, we had talked a little bit about artificial intelligence and how that can be used to improve the customer experience, but imagine being able to automate some of the workflow for the agent as well, so that an agent could perhaps be wrapping up an interaction with a customer on an email, while at the same time it is doing some automated processes to greet the next customer in their chat queue, as an example. So ways in which it can take pieces of that agent workflow and automate it and optimize that experience and make those improvements there. Additionally, when you think about some of the stressors on agents, a lot of it is they have to be trained up and know a variety of different systems to solve one customer issue. It could be they've got their agent desktop where their email system is on there, but they might be answering chat interactions in a different system. But if they want to talk, get order confirmation details for the customer, they have to go into their order management system and then copy and paste that order number back into the other screen where they're engaging with the customer, whether it's through chat or email or some other channel. So huge room for manual error there. But with the ability, our platform, I think the shining jewel, I would say, to its ability is really providing a single interface for the agent to complete that entire experience. We're not saying that we're going to take the 20 systems an agent interacts with and reduce it to one, but if we can collapse 5 of them and have 15 systems rather than 20, that's probably a win for your organization. It's fewer systems to maintain, it's one common interface to train your agents on, and that interface provides them with all of the digital channels they're managing for their customer support in that moment. So an agent could manage text messages, they could be managing Facebook Messenger interactions, their chats or email management. They could then also, in that moment, as they're engaging with a customer, have a view into customer information. Is that customer pulling in information from maybe your CRM system to know, is that customer a gold member, or what is that customer's NPS score? And then they're pulling together also into a single composite all of their previous interaction history. So you can see like, oh, Erica also emailed us 2 days ago and she chatted with us a week ago about a product she bought that she was having difficulty installing. And so that, armed with that information, the agent spends less time going through the routine tasks of asking repeatedly, what are you calling for? Do you happen to know the service number or the ticket number for the issue you had? All of those routine questions that annoy customers, and can go right into the conversation and say, Erica, are you calling about the product issue you had installing your new hardware on your computer? Great, let's walk through that. So having all that information and then being able to also pull information in from third-party systems like a ticketing system, like maybe your order management system, or even your order tracking, like get the FedEx number for them and be able to show that, pass that information on to the customer. So really making the agent more efficient because everything's right there at their fingertips, which in the end helps the agent be more satisfied with their job, reduces your training costs, and overall reduces your contact center expenses.
Marie, this is Julie.
That's great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to make a comment real quick because if we look at the way that we've built our service and support organizations today, they were processes and structures that were built upon you know, the idea that our customers had to come to us for knowledge, right? That we didn't, technology was just emerging, the end user didn't have a really strong understanding of the technology, and the technology was really difficult to use. And so they had a dependency on the service and support organization in order to use that technology. Now, tools, the platforms have changed dramatically. They are so easy to use, and we have a society that is, you know, mostly grown up with technology at their fingertips. So they're not as a novice coming into this without knowledge. And we need processes that support, you know, let's give them what they can use themselves and create a process that when they do need to come to us is really valuable to them. You know, I think the knowledge of the end user changes a lot of all of that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. When you think about today's contact center agents, there's a lot of millennials in those contact centers. They are used to using a mobile app, to swiping to get information, having information accessible right at their fingertips. I'm sure many of them look at some of the CRM systems or agent desktop interfaces and they cringe with these outdated interfaces, and their expectation is a very modern, sleek, easy to use interface to get their work done, and they can't believe that organizations don't have that.
Absolutely, and ICMI research continues to show that one of the #1 stressors for contact center agents is inefficient processes and tools, but we're also finding that their job is becoming more and more complicated day to day. So being able to empower them with these sort of tools is just so critical to improving both that agent and customer experience. Well, it looks like we are quickly reaching the top of our hour. So I want to thank you again, everyone, for tuning in, but also really want to thank Marie and Julie for the amazing information that they shared today. I know I've taken lots of notes, and I want to reference a couple of these slides after we end, so don't forget that you can download a version of today's slides directly through that console. And then feel free to come back and listen to the recording. You can use the same link that you used to log in for today's live presentation to watch that recording. And before we go, I do need to mention that this presentation is copyright ICMI 2017. ICMI is responsible for its content and opinions, and our speakers and sponsors are responsible for theirs. So once again, on behalf of ICMI and Bold 360, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you have a great afternoon.
Thank you.